Hey friends, I'm doing a video I never thought I would do. It's been 8 years, and after talking with my counselor, we both felt like it was the right thing to do. So I have two disclosures before we go into this. One, I'm coming to you as raw and as real as ever. Hardly any makeup. I haven't done my hair. It's even wet from the rain. I haven't scripted this. I haven't written it out. I know if I don't do it, I'm never going to do it. So here we go. The second disclosure is if things like medical discussion, PTSD discussion, medical trauma, medical PTSD discussion are things that you're not interested in watching or listening, please go to the next video. This is not the video for you, and that's okay. Some of you may be going through something like this, and you may not be ready for this video, and that's okay. So just take your time and click away. Also, I am not a medical professional. I am telling my journey and my story. I am not telling any person or anyone what they should or should not do. I'm sharing in hopes that it does help somebody to know that you're not alone. And also, I'm doing this for me. Selfishly, I'm doing this as a healing part of my therapy, something I talked with my counselor. And yeah, so we're just going to jump right into it. 8 years ago, I had a surgery that I've actually talked about on here before, and it was when I had my tonsils removed. Now, what I really didn't talk about was what happened following that, because I never felt comfortable or that I should, or I don't know, I never could get around to it. And I realized that if I didn't share it, maybe it didn't reach the person that it needed to, or it didn't allow me to heal in a way that I needed to. And so we're going to kind of talk about the two things that have affected me still to this day from the tonsillectomy. So if you don't know, I had a tonsillectomy. I had 3 surgeries in 10 days. 9 days post-op, I hemorrhaged out in my sleep from the vein in my neck where they did the surgery. It was brutal. They had to do the surgery while I was awake to save my life in the ER room. And the doctor said, I hope you don't remember this. I hope that we can save you and you don't remember. But here we go. And unfortunately, my mind did start to put the pieces back together. So when this happened, like I said, it was brutal. And one of the ways that we knew that it was brutal was not only did I have to do speech therapy, I had another surgery 3 days later because I hemorrhaged again. Thankfully, though, it did happen and I was able to go under anesthesia, and they were able to go down far enough to cauterize the entire area where they were not able to reach it the first time because of the positioning of me being awake and everything. So we did that, did the surgery, and that's really when, what is that noise? As I started to recover from speech therapy and everything, my mind and my body just kind of separated for a little bit between the anesthesia, the medication, and my body sleeping all the time. I wasn't able to really process what had happened to me in those 10 days. And so my mind started to put those pieces back together. 3 major things really came out of that. One was I had flashbacks. The flashbacks were so severe, sometimes I'd be driving down the road and a flashback would completely take over my vision. And I'd have to pull over and call my husband and talk through it and get to a point where I was able to finally emotionally be more stable to drive home, to get to him. I've had a flashback where I wasn't able to recover and Marshall had to come get me. There's a lot of things that happen with flashbacks. I never knew or thought that that's something I'd ever have to deal with. And as my mind started putting the pieces back together of all that time that I lost and the actual emergency procedures that happened, the flashbacks got more and more intense, and they became closer and closer together. We tried to help me sleep by actually moving me out of our master bedroom, because every time I went into the room, I was just overcome with anxiety and just it was so hard to walk into that room knowing that's where I bled out. So we tried changing the curtains, we tried changing the color of the room, we tried changing the blankets and the pillows, the direction of the bed. Everything that we could, we tried to change so it did not remind me of what it looked like going into that room. It did not work, and so we eventually moved me out. And I was out of there for a couple months, and then I was able to bring myself back over. But we did change, like I said, color scheme and the mood and the feel of the entire room. Even though the flashbacks started to subside as the years went on, the one thing that has never completely gone away, the flashbacks, I feel like I've not had a flashback in maybe a year. But the one thing that has not gone away is the PTSD nightmares. And for me, those are the hardest to overcome, because with the flashbacks, I could always talk to somebody while they were happening. With the nightmares, I've always been able to talk myself up out of a dream. I've never been able to talk myself out of a nightmare that had to do with this particular scenario in my life. I think that's what makes it so difficult when you wake up. Also, when I wake up, my nightmare is actually physical. And so when I wake up, I have my hand cusping my throat where the hemorrhage was. Thankfully, I've never applied pressure in my sleep, but I do something kind of like this. And I hold it. So I put my thumb right on the collarbone, and I wake up with my chin propped up, which, like I said, it's very good because I'm not actually applying pressure to the vein, but it's still, when I wake up, I know either it's happened, I am emotionally and physically exhausted, I didn't sleep well, and I know without a shadow of a doubt what's happened. And I thought I'd overcome this. I thought that these were behind me. Unfortunately, with the recent stressors that we have encountered, they have come back. I don't know what the next steps are to help me overcome this part of it. As I mentioned, I am in counseling, I am in therapy, and have been, and I'm a big advocate for it when it's with the right doctor and the right person. And it took me a while. It wasn't, who I'm with now is not who I began with. And as a patient, you have the power to advocate for yourself to find that right match. And in counseling, I can never stress it more that you have to have the right match. But I knew that I was in trouble when these nightmares started to come back. Thankfully, there are things that I have put in my life because of all the stress that my husband and I are in due to my illness. They have helped. I'm optimistic that this will be short-lived and I will be able to move forward from it. But it is going to take time, and so when I am up all night, or I am up during the day, and then I'm awake all night as well, but then I sleep during the day, when those patterns start to come in to play, my mind is putting those pieces back together. And sometimes what's interesting, even though it was 8 years ago, sometimes there are parts of it that come into play that I've never remembered before, because it was so suppressed. It was so deep in my mind that it has taken all this time to come forward. Blackout segments that I don't remember. And then every so often that segment will come into play and it's a new piece to the memory. Now, from a science standpoint, I think that's fascinating, and that's really what has driven me through this process, is looking at it from that perspective. From an emotional standpoint, it is very, very difficult. it is extremely exhausting. It is something that I never wish on anyone. I never wish anyone to have to experience the things I've experienced, and the pain and the grief and the nightmares and the trauma and the PTSD nightmares and the medical trauma and the medical PTSD. It's very gut-wrenching. And I pray that if you're going through this, that you have someone that you can talk with, that you have professionals in your life to get you through it. You have friends and family, a support group, whoever is there for you, your care partner, whoever is there for you to help you through those moments. I pray that you open up and talk to them, because I couldn't move forward until I was able to actually verbalize it. And Marshall's heard the same story probably 50,000 times at this point. And no matter how many times I tell it, he still listens. And he doesn't say anything. He doesn't tell me that he's tired of hearing the story. I am so thankful for him, because I don't know mentally where I would be without him. Because I have had an open, safe place to talk. And not just because he's my spouse, because he's my best friend. And I'm very thankful for that. So, my mouth, I have my infusion next week. I can start to feel my tongue rubbing incorrectly, and I'm slurring a little bit, so I'm gonna go. And I just wanted whoever was watching this to know that if you are experiencing something like this, you're not alone. And as hard as it may be, as difficult as it may be, and there's no timeline of what is proper. There is no expectation of when you should be able to get beyond this point. I'm still having these nightmares, and it's been 8 years. I am not imposing any timeline that you should be feeling better. I am giving you grace to take the time to deal with it, to have your moments. Give yourself permission to feel what you feel in that moment. Give it respect, and then take that next step through your day. And that's the only way I've been able to move forward. So it feels really good to get this off my chest. It feels good to talk about it in hopes that if you are someone that's going through this, that you know that you're not alone, and that together we can overcome. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to go now. I'm going to rest before I can't swallow or chew. And get ready for my infusion next week, because I can feel my muscles starting to go. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.